All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking NFL football, and it is the conference championship games. We got 2 games left on the slate. Who is going to wind up at the Super Bowl here? I'm joined by my 2 friends going through the NFL. I'm joined by my co-host Fresh, and joining us all through the NFL playoffs, our producer Drew. Gentlemen, how are you?
Can't believe we're already at Championship Sunday. Football
I
season's
know.
already it's disappeared. We just had a college football national title game, and we're down to what 3 football games left because the Pro Bowl doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, I'm living
Yeah.
the dream other than the fact football season's coming to an end. But at least, arguably we got some of the best games still left, so let's enjoy them while we can.
Yeah. Drew, we didn't get your take at all. I know you let off. I know it's not pro, but we'll get real quick. Thoughts on Indiana winning the national title?
I mean, very impressive run. Got to give respect to Signetti and the boys. I mean, that team was great. And I saw him shouting out kind of last year's team too, talking about how they got it started. And they did have a good run last year as well, but this year really capped it off. And I mean, what more can you say?
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, we'll start in the AFC right now. AFC championship game. The New England Patriots are going to travel to the Mile High City to face the Denver Broncos. At time of record, the Patriots are a 4.5-point road favorite. Over under is set at 42.5. Big news in this game. No Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos here. I'll throw it to you guys. I know Fresh, we've talked about him, I think, way back when we first started talking about college football. I think he was there, Auburn there, if I remember correctly. And New England played a very good game, sloppy at times, against the Houston Texans. How do you guys see this game going? How does Denver overcome not having their QB1?
I mean, it's gutting. And if you watch that divisional round game versus Buffalo, obviously there's a lot of controversy in that game. But him breaking a bone or breaking his ankle or breaking a bone in the ankle, whatever the exact medical issue that happened, you really didn't notice it during the game because it was an overtime. But then on the sideline, you kind of watch it later, and he's like screaming, writhing in pain. If it was in the game, I would be much more worried about the Broncos. But this entire week, that entire team is going to rally around Stidham. He's had experience. He's played in the NFL. He's taken regular season snaps, even though it's been 2 years since he actually had a game. But he's at least seen it happen. He's been in the heat, in the fire. But it is the championship game. You've got to be able to perform at a high level. It's going to come out a little rusty. How does the Broncos offensive line, running backs, receivers, help out the quarterback, but more importantly, does that defense play with a little extra juice? And that's kind of what I'm watching because Bo Nix gave him that chance. Like, this team was real legit good. But not having your quarterback back there who can run around and make things happen, the receivers trust, is going to require everybody else to rise up and step up. And you look at across the other side where Drake May, he's gotten that entire Patriots team to play at a high level. They've been night and day under Mike Vrabel from last year to where they are now. A lot of guys making plays all over the place. But his ability to run, to throw, to just keep the calm under pressure mentality for the entire football team has got them where they are. He took them into Buffalo and got a win. He's gotten playoff wins now. He's gotten big wins late in the season. Can he go into Mile High against a very good Bronco defense and deliver and get a massive turnaround for the Patriots, who were absolute dumpster fire for the past few years? Getting them back there and leading them is the story of this football game.
Yeah, I think that obviously the Bo Nix injury, it's tough. I mean, going into the championship game, lose your quarterback like that. But like Fresh said, at least you have the whole week to prepare. And I'm sure, it's part of their plan, but I've been seeing a lot of Stidham hype this week in terms of, well, this is like basically Sean Payton selected this guy to be a backup. He's one of the highest paid backups because they feel good about him and, they wanted him there. So I think combination of the coach and if the quarterback is what, they say he is or that they want him to be, that defense is going to keep it close. Obviously, the Patriots having a great season, Drake May in the MVP conversation. They're going to show up and probably play a great game as well. But I just think even with the quarterback switch in Denver, I don't think that it's going to necessarily be the Patriots walking to the Super Bowl like some people have been making it out. Like as soon as the Bo Nix injury was announced, people were like, oh, Broncos are done. But that defense is going to keep them in it. So as long as the quarterback doesn't turn the ball over excessively, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I went back and I saw a lot of people, and I think it was Nick Foles who chimed in going, you guys remember that the Eagles lost Carson Wentz. What was it? It's that week 16 or week 17 in the season. It's very late into the season. And everyone kind of just stuck up work into the Eagles and that they were going to be done for the year and wound up winning the Super Bowl over the Patriots there. But let's talk about Stidham here for a second. I mean, you both mentioned how good the Denver Broncos defense is and that they can keep him in the game. What kind of stat line or what does Stidham have to do to basically match Drake May in terms of offensive firepower? I don't necessarily know if I think that either one of them have to go like touchdown for touchdown thing. It doesn't have to be a gunslinger, but what would you expect for Stidham to have to say like, if he does this, I would feel pretty good about Denver winning this game?
This third down conversions. That's where this game is going to be working. Both defenses are very, very good. If he can come out there and get them at a 50% clip on third down, that is huge. Because it means, number one, that the offense most likely is in that 3rd and 4 or less situation. So that first and second down, they've managed it well. They're not trying to get 20 yards every single play. And he can make the big boy throw on third. It can keep the drive alive to sustain offense. You're not scoring 20-yard touchdown plus, every single time. You're not getting like the Patriots had all those turnovers from C.J. Stroud. If you don't turn the ball over and you convert third downs, the Texans might have even won that game. It's just that's the stat I'm looking for because Drake May is going to have, already has 2 very good running backs, has a solid passing game. His offensive line's played at a pretty high level, and they did really well last week, even though he at times looked like a young quarterback. He's going to get his, but if you're Stidham, you got to know you have a good defense behind you. If I can convert third down, sustain drives, I'm going to find a way to get points, and I can trust my kicker. And you need a kicker in the playoffs. I don't care what you say. Will Lutz can hit him home, and maybe your defense was converting turnovers and forcing Drake May and shorten the field. But if you could have the advantage on third down, you're going to give your team a chance.
Yeah, for me, I would say, limit the turnovers, 0 interceptions, and at least as many touchdowns as the defense gives up. And I don't expect the defense to give up that many. So if he can just basically not be the reason they lose, I think, and he's going to have to muster some points. I don't expect the Broncos defense to shut the Patriots out. But I do think that, we're going to be looking at maybe a 24-21 type of game. And so can he get 3 scores? He doesn't have to throw for all of them. Get the team close, get the ball down the field. Maybe you get one running the ball. Maybe the defense or special teams scores one. But so I would say he's probably going to need 2 touchdowns and no interceptions.
And one thing that Mike Vrabel said to Drake May, and I think this applies also for Stidham here in the situation, every drive ends in a kick. And by what he means is like we're kicking a field goal, extra point, we're punting. That right there, you're doing okay. It's okay in this championship game. Punt is okay. If Sean Payton's trying to go for it on 4th down with Jarrett Stidham, especially on his own side of the 50, that means the Broncos are already in that situation. They're getting desperate. You have to know if he was a great quarterback, he would have already been starting somewhere. There's a quarterback starting issue in the NFL. There's not 32 great starting quarterbacks. If he was that good, he'd be starting. There's a reason why he's the backup. You can't try to put him in a situation where he then is exposed because that pass rush for New England, just like Denver's, both of them can get home. If he's out there hung out to dry, that's when the turnovers, that's when the hurry throws, that's when the Carson Becking, if you will, for lack of a better analogy, comes into play.
Nice. Yeah. Anytime Sid from Ice Age comes out, it's a bad news bears for that one. Fresh, you brought up Drake May here in this one. All right, let's say New England wins here and wins this football game. What do you think that does for Drake May's career? Like, where does he's had a great season. He's a young quarterback. Is he going to have like the Joe Burrow type rub that he had when he took the Bengals to Super Bowl a couple of years ago? Is he still in that tier 2, tier 3 of quarterbacks in the NFL? What does it do to his career if he's able to pull this game off going into Mile High? Because Mile High is not an easy place.
I don't think it puts him in the Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers, they're here to chuck it. And Joe Burrow also had some very lethal receivers in our football team. This Patriots team is an all of 53. They're a bunch of dudes who are just ready to hit you in the mouth. offensively and defensively. You have a defense that's going to get you off the field where you know, like it happened in the game versus Texas. You make a mistake, that defense right back out there got the ball back for you. It takes some chances, but you know that you have a defense behind you that's going to support you, so you can play a little more carefree, and you have a solid running game. The two running backs, Stevenson and Henderson, have complement each other at an optimal level. And then you add in the tight end game on 12 personnel. Stephon Diggs will have a game here and there, but it's a collective effort of everybody stepping up. It's not just one dude who's being cerebral with the passing game. People run for first downs. He has a lot of this year, a lot of scramble yards, but it's also because the whole entire offense has talent, and people are not focusing on a one or the other. If he wins this game as a Patriots quarterback, it puts him the same level as Drew Bledsoe. He won an AFC title and took a team to Super Bowl. He's not Tom Brady because he hasn't won multiple Super Bowls yet, but he is a position where the entire franchise is stable. The defensive line, the offensive line, that talent, linebacker, and the secondary receivers, they're in depth. It's a full 53 that's complementing each other and making them a solid football team and helping the quarterback. And we lose that focus in the NFL. It's like, I need to have the great quarterback. We start paying the great quarterback, but then you start seeing talent across the board leave because they can't pay anybody else. So winning with a rookie quarterback, using the talent around you, letting him grow in the element, let his skills develop, but he's not an NFL top 10 quarterback yet. There's prize for him to be a MVP. He's a good quarterback, but Matthew Stafford is the MVP.
Drew, any take on Drake May if he makes it to the Super Bowl?
I mean, great start to the career. I agree with everything Fresh said. You know, it's a little early to start making any crazy comparisons, but it definitely puts him maybe into the conversation of where he's like next up to be in the four names we talk about potentially, you know, because if he's in the AFC Championship for the next 3 years in a row, hypothetically, you know, obviously that would mean, I would imagine, between Burrow, Lamar, Mahomes, like somebody's going to be not making the AFC Championship out of that group. And so does May assert himself as, you know, one of the top 4 or 5 names? I don't think he's there yet. I agree with Fresh that Stafford's the MVP this year. Patriots fans, what, they have 2 bad seasons? I mean, it's unbelievable, but good for them. Drake May, I mean, he looks incredible. We'll see. I know the knock on the Patriots in general had been that they hadn't played anybody all year, but you can only play your schedule, and they've looked pretty good in the playoffs. So I'd say not a fluke at this point.
All right, Drew, I'll come back right to you, though, on this one. A lot's going to be made on Mike Vrabel leading the Patriots and Sean Payton leading the Broncos, both with their second team that they have kind of led here. Sean Payton does have the Super Bowl win with the Saints there. And Vrabel's been around winners all of his life, winning as a player and then making it to, you know, whether it's in the college level or in the NFL level, making it to the tippy top there as well. Is there a coaching edge? Who has it there? And how big of an edge is if you have an advantage one way or another?
I mean, if I had to assign an edge, I'd probably give Peyton a slight edge. Just been doing it longer, probably seen more from a coaching perspective. But it's hard to argue with Vrabel's results. I mean, the Patriots were awful. And, you know, the roster didn't change that much with him coming in, and obviously massive turnaround. But I think, you know, for a one-game basis, I would probably give Sean Payton a slight edge. Now, when you tell me it's Sean Payton with the backup quarterback, you know, now maybe that playing field's a little more leveled. But yeah, I would say Payton, a slight edge.
Kind of looking at the same question, there's an obsession on Sean Payton. Everyone thinks that he is the greatest head coach of all time. He has one Super Bowl appearance with the Saints, and he won it. His record, wins, losses, division titles, playoff appearances, playoff wins, Super Bowl titles, is almost identical as John Harbaugh and Mike McCarthy. It's funny how all three of them were looked differently, and they almost had the exact same playoff success, regular season success, and each have one Super Bowl title as the head coach. I think he's overhyped because he was in the Giants, he worked for Parcells, he was with the Cowboys, and he got the Saints to resurrect. Albeit there was some scandals down in New Orleans with the head coach. But to Drew's point, he has seen stuff. He has seen more. And he is a quarterback guy. He's been around. That might help him be able to speak and through coach Stidham through the game. This isn't a regular season game anymore. This is a preseason game. This is a one or done, and the entire franchise is riding on his shoulders. You look at Vrabel, he rode Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown with the Titans to play in the playoffs and have success multiple times. He's done it here in 2 different locations with up and coming, taking downtrodden teams and reviving them much faster than Sean Payton did. He's much more tough. Sean Payton's much more angry and stoic, kind of like he's the jackass. Vrabel is a players coach, and I could see the players want to play for Vrabel more than want to play for Sean Payton. Payton thinks it's about him. Vrabel thinks it's about them, if that makes any sense.
Gotcha. All right. Right now, spread's at Patriots minus 4.5. They're on the road here. What do you like? Like the 4.5, Patriots by 4.5. You like Denver and the points?
I'm taking Denver to pull off the upset outright.
Oh, you're taking Denver money line.
I have a feeling this team's going to play with some juice. That defense is going to know that they got lucky last week versus Buffalo, and this is their chance, and they're going to come out fighting. It's going to be ugly. It'll be sloppy, but that defense is going to be able to give. They're going to tackle, and they're going to give Drake May all help he can handle.
Yep. Denver, but just the points. I think the Patriots win by 3.
Oh, nice. How do you guys feel about that over-under of 42.5? You like the under in that?
I
Talked a
took
lot
the
about
under in the
defense.
Texans-Patriots game. The 42 is tough, but if it was higher, if it was like 47, like I took last week and took the under, I'd feel more comfortable because you might have a defensive touchdown. Both these defenses are very relentless. You see strip sacks, you see picks. Special teams, both these teams are going to pull off something crazy. That's where some points come from that you don't really account for when you come to that total. So that 42 is tough. If it was 46.5 or 47.5, I would take the under. That 42, I'm going to take the over.
Yep, over for me as well.
Wow. All right. I expected both of you guys, for how much you talked about the defense, I kind of was expecting the under to come in on that one.
Defense is going to score, though. I think we're going to see some defensive touchdowns.
Yeah, I think 24-21, so that's 45.
Yeah. All right, let's go over to the NFC game here. Los Angeles Rams winning one of the craziest football games I've seen in a long time in the NFL level, beating the Chicago Bears. And then the Seattle Seahawks just eviscerating the San Francisco 49ers in maybe one of the ugliest beatdowns we've seen in the playoffs out this side of the 1989 Super Bowl of the 49ers and Broncos there.
Well, I don't know. You haven't seen the Packers and the 49ers in the most recent times. I think Colin Kaepernick still went for some touchdowns.
That's probably true. All right. Well, Seahawks are only 2.5-point favorite in this game. That shocked me that spread was that low. And this over-under set in this game is at 46.5 here. This game just feels different than the AFC game here. I don't know. I just get this different vibe emulating from this game here. Is Seattle just a team of destiny is going to just completely put the boots to LA, or was that like a one-off that we saw in about San Francisco?
I think it's a one-off San Francisco. That team is all beat up. They have had so many injuries. And they play multiple times. There's no receivers in that team that can get any separation. Kittle being out. It was Brock Purdy and McCaffrey trying to take on, basically take on everyone. And they had no chance. They laid it on the line. They beat they beat a dead Philly team, but they don't have the firepower. They didn't have the firepower. I think Seattle didn't let them hang around. That was the most impressive thing. They're like, we have a wounded duck. We're not going to let them have any hope because Shanahan can coach. That was their biggest concern. And they got after him early and they put the game away. This Seattle team, that offense is good. You look at JSN, you got Cooper Kupp. Sam Darnold's had a lot of success. The running back injury, only having, Kenneth Walker the third there, but not having the other is interesting. But their defense is absolutely nasty. McDonald and that defense for Seattle, they flower on the football. They hit people in the mouth. They are very close. I'm not going to say the Legion of Boom, but they are very close in that ferocious mentality and the way they attack. The reason why the spread is so close is the 2 times these teams have faced off this year. It was I think 3, maybe 4-point win for LA the first time. And then we had that Thursday night game where LA was up 30-14 in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go. And Seattle comes back and wins by a point. A lot of the kick return, all the crazy stuff happened late. These 2 teams know each other real well. They're both very well coached, and they both have offenses that can score. Both have Kupp is obviously not what he used to be, but he will play against the Rams in this game. He's going to up himself and ready to go. And then you have Devontae Adams and you have Puka on the other side with a whole host of tight ends and Kyron Williams and 2 very, very good quarterbacks. So this is going to be a fun one. It's the real challenge in this game is, can the Rams defense show up. Because the Rams defense is the weakest of the four groups in this game, outside of special teams. And they melted last time these two teams played in the fourth quarter. No one could tackle. They couldn't get off the field. Yes, the Rams offense could also drive the ball and put a death march down to end the ball game either, but they still gave up points. If the Rams defense can buck up and get off the field and play consistent for full 60, they have the advantage. But that is the real divider there. The last time Sam Darnold played the Rams in the playoffs, he was a quarterback for the Vikings last year as the 5 seed, and they got absolutely humiliated. So there is a history with Sam Darnold in the playoffs versus the Rams.
Yeah, like Fresh said, two very evenly matched teams, two great games during the regular season. Seattle has looked dominant. Obviously, they took the 49ers apart, who were banged up. But yeah, Seattle's going to be tough. That home crowd, you could just hear the crowd through the TV. It was pretty insane. And then the one thing, I guess, if people are anticipating, like bad things to happen with Sam Darnold in the playoffs, the good news is even in the two matchups during the regular season, I feel like he had multiple interceptions in both games, but the team was never out of it. So, they can hang around with the Rams. They've proven it. And I think they're probably going to go ahead and get it done. I don't think it'll be a back and forth game, but I don't know. Just that crowd combined with that defense, man, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. Drew, it's funny you bring up the crowd because one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life, once when visiting Seattle, the EMP Museum had the sound booth. And on one side, you're in two separate rooms next to each other, and it simulated the crowd noise in Seattle as it there. And you're in two booths, and they are pumping in the crowd noise, and you have to yell out a play call as loud as you can, and the person's in the other room trying to hear what you have to say, and they have to push a button of what play call you did there. And it was really kind of neat because you get a sense on how difficult that stadium is, especially like, okay, yeah, you're like, I'm up high, it's kind of loud in here, but when you're down on the field and that noise is just barreling down onto you, it's next to impossible to hear what the other person is saying there. So I think that's a great point that you bring up about how this is one of those type of games that has a factor that is going to be completely controlled by the fans and the 12th man over there as well. I'm curious to both of you saying this. We talk about Drake May. We have a level of respect for him. Again, Stim's a backup. Matt Stafford, you guys both said, is a possible MVP, probable MVP. Sam Darnold, drafted by the Jets, is notorious for the seeing ghost comment out there. And then all of a sudden, he bounces around, has a year in Minnesota, great year there, and now Seattle. What's been the difference maker for him? Like, this is a kid who we kind of 2 years into his career, we were all writing him off. Like, oh, the kid's a bust. Like, kind of throwing him away like garbage and not texting him there. And then, yeah, he's in that same draft class. But what's the difference? Why has he turned around his career to this level and having Seattle in the NFC Championship game?
Well, I think first off, kids coming out of college aren't prepared for the NFL. Very rarely we see a kid come out prepared and ready to operate. And if you're getting drafted in the top 5, you're probably going to a trash football team who has a lot of issues. So your supporting casting is going to be really rough. And then the pressure of having to win, especially in New York, is even maximized. He had some serious confidence issues, went down to Carolina. Him and Baker, even though they were on a terrible Panthers team, I think him and Baker were both in that mentality of they hit rock bottom. And from there, you saw them both be tutored by the Reigns. Baker went to go play for the LA Rams for a couple of games, found a way to sort of revive his career, and then made his way to Tampa. The quarterback's coach at that time then went to Minnesota and took over the job, reunites with him there. And Darnold meets him there. And that coach right there in Minnesota, I hate the Vikings with a burning hatred, burning passion. There's nothing lower than the Minnesota Vikings, in my opinion, for the NFL. But that coach and his entire staff rebuilt Sam Darnold's confidence, got him in a system to make throws and see up. It didn't have to just be Justin Jefferson. It was the way he got the ball to the receivers, confidence, the understanding of the offensive line, and using the running game to help slow down the pass rush and allowing the play action to grow. Model is Sean McVay and what he's done with the Rams. We all have tiers, we have coaching trees, but the model that he is in is to use multiple tight ends, to use the running game and help the quarterbacks be successful. Sam Darnold grew because he then had trust in the pass. He had trust in the offensive line, had trust in the running game, where it didn't all fall on his shoulders. He can make throws on time and not just be staring at 50 players on the opposite side of the field. That growth, that maturity, you start seeing how I completed one pass, becomes two, becomes four, becomes 10 touchdowns. You start seeing that positive momentum, become an avalanche in a good way. And that success, you have the skills there, but now you start seeing the repeated success because the coaches have invested in you and helped you see the field better and set you up for success with the play calling. So, coaching matters. And we're talking about in the AFC game where Vrabel and Sean Payton, coaching matters, and you put him in position to be successful. Yes, he has talent around him, but him seeing the success and the guys catching the ball, him knowing the play calls, him knowing it works to his skill set, and then that's a big win. And it's been really, we love to see the underdog stories. Seth, you are the biggest underdog lover of all time, but
True.
Sam Darnold kind of fits that underdog story of he hit rock bottom, and now he is got paid, and he is the starting quarterback of the number one seed in the NFC on the verge of going to the Super Bowl, which is really, really cool from that perspective.
Yeah, I think it just shows that you could take somebody that you think is a bust and on one team, and if you give them better coaching and a better roster, all of a sudden it looks a lot different. Not that that applies to every situation, but I would say everybody's probably still waiting for Darnold to have some playoff success before they want to say, oh, this is a true turnaround or anything like that. But given his season last year with Minnesota and this season with Seattle, we see where Minnesota's at this year. It's time, regardless of how things go this weekend, we could put some respect on Sam Darnold and say, you know what? He's a competent top 12 starter in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even mean to go to 12 as if that's like a bad thing. I'm not going to go through the names right now. I just feel like somewhere in the 9 to 12 range is probably where I would end up having him, which I think is a big compliment considering a lot of people had him outside of the top 32 not that long ago.
So both of you are trying to say that there's still some hope out there for Anthony Richardson.
No.
Did not say that. No.
Not all situations are created equal.
Yeah. I mean, that one, I think might as well go play in the United Football League.
I was thinking XFL more like for him.
I think they're a wash.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Canada wants him.
Yeah, the CFL might not even want that guy. Again, that's one of those victory laps I still, for year after year, will take because, my good God, I can still remember that draft video and being like, no, this is one of the worst quarterback prospects out there of all time. All right, guys, keeping with the game here, though, so I don't go too long on Anthony Richardson and the joke of him as a quarterback here. Give me an X factor in this game. One guy that's not the quarterback or a big name like JSN here that could be a huge difference maker, whether it's on offense or defense for either team. Got someone you really like? Okay.
Jared Verse. I mean, he made some plays last week for Chicago late that shut down the running game and got pressure. And if he can deliver late in the ball game, it means that number one, the Rams are probably winning, or it's a close ball game. But he is that fire starter on the defensive side of the Rams.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. Not that he's like not a big name, but I believe Charbonnet is out for the season after last week. So Walker's going to need to step up, obviously, and take on some of those additional carries. I know they've got some other backs on the roster, but he's going to need to have a big game.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a huge game for Kenneth Walker with Charbonnet being out as well. I'm curious to see how Stafford uses the rest of this receiving room. I'm going to say one of the tight ends for me, whether it's going to be Higbee, Parkinson. I know they have Ferguson down there as well as had a couple of catches in the game. Which one of those guys becomes a big red zone target that kind of puts it on that Seattle defense? Because I think in between the 20s, I think LA can move the football in between the 20s. They got some weapons. They can spread them out a little bit, create some havoc there. But I think where Seattle becomes extremely tough is in that red zone area. And that's where you could lean on the tight ends that they're going to have single coverage against maybe a linebacker. So they're going to be able to stop that. I don't know if one of those guys is going to be able to make a play against that defense. So again, if one of them is an X factor, they make a big play when they're in the red zone, it could really tilt the scales in the Rams' favor.
Agreed. I think Parkinson's
Yeah.
probably he's more of the veteran, so he's gonna have that connection. Parkinson has shown the athletic ability, but him coming off the injury, and I think there's still like a little trepidation. Parkinson,
Right.
watch him in the red zone, or even on third down. He's gonna be a number one target.
Yeah. All right, guys. Seattle -2.5. Who are you taking?
This
There's a lot of
won't
thought
be
going
Matthew
on right here.
Stafford's last. This won't be Matthew Stafford's last ever game. I know there's rumors this might be, if they lose, he's done. I'm taking the Rams to win on the road. I'm taking Stafford. I'm taking Sean McVay. It's weird to think though that after Sunday, Stafford and Rodgers could have played their last snap in the NFL. So I'm taking Matthew Stafford. I'm taking Matthew Stafford on the road. Rams get it done. Get a Rams Broncos.
I'm going Seahawks, I think. You know, I've been all season thinking the Rams were the team that was going to go to the Super Bowl and ultimately win it, and obviously that still very well could happen. But watching that game in Seattle last week, watching that defense, I know the 49ers weren't at full strength, but man, Seahawks look like they're just on another level. And yeah, I think this is shaping up potentially to be Sam Darnold MVP season, and then we'll see what the haters have to say after that.
So if it's Patriots Seahawks, do the Seahawks run the ball in first down in the Super Bowl just as a way to reverse the curse?
Yes. Yes, that happens.
One play late.
Right. And I do have a question. I did not know, Fresh, that you hated the Vikings more than the Chicago Bears.
So the Vikings fans and the players are the dreads. There's words I can't say on this podcast. I want to kind of keep it family friendly. The Bears have always just been so absolutely terrible, and it's a historic rivalry. And Papa Bear, he actually back in the day forked up money to keep the Packers going. So there is yes, Packers Bears fans hate each other, but there's a vitriol disdain of Minnesota Vikings fans and players to the utmost. Like, so someone asked me, and this would be really funny. You know, in The Grinch with Jim Carrey, like hate, double hate, loathe entirely. It's 49ers, Lions, Cowboys, Bears. The Vikings are the last part. Loathe entirely. Yeah, there's absolute deep down hatred for the Minnesota Vikings.
And
the only person on that, there are only two Vikings players that I respect and will cherish. John Randall's a cool dude. John Randall's a cool dude. Yeah. I respect him. And Aaron Jones, because he's a former Packer and now plays for the Vikings.
Was it Gary Anderson or Morton Anderson who was their kicker for so long? Which of the Anderson brothers? Was it Gary?
I think it was Gary, because I think Morton was the Falcons kicker who beat them in the playoffs in the NFC Championship game, which might be one of the best days for them.
Gotcha. Again,
in my lifetime, the Vikings and the Lions have still never made a Super Bowl.
Well, the Lions have never made a Super Bowl. But I'm sitting here thinking, I go, you know, if you would have asked me who Fresh hates more, like the Bears or the Lions too, I probably would have inverted the order you said. I would have probably said, well, Bears are one, probably maybe put Vikings two and put the Lions third on that one. But man, learn something new. Fresh hates the Vikings.
Fans, how do you stack rank your division? You guys being Browns fans.
But Steelers will always be number one. Steelers are number one.
Even more than the Ravens, who stole your franchise?
I'll say this: if Art Modell was still living, then we could have a conversation. But since Art Modell is no longer with us, it's going to be the Steelers for me. And then the Ravens are a very close number two underneath that. And again, maybe it's better that the Ravens are number two, you know, pun intended there. And then there's a really big gap, and then Cincinnati.
Drew, are you same order?
Yeah.
Yep. Same order. And yeah, this is some new information. I might have to look into becoming a Vikings fan, you know.
Well, if you don't want me to talk to you ever again, we can have
it. Sounds like there's a lot of good history there. So
yeah.
Now, if you had asked me 5 players that ever wore the Vikings uniform that were not Packers at all, because Aaron Jones was everything that I have an appreciation for, have a healthy respect of. Robert Smith, a running back, respect him. John Randall, respect. Randy Moss, you have to respect.
Yeah. Chris Carter?
Chris Carter runs his mouth a lot.
I love that Chris Carter's not making this list.
Right. But, and we act like Randy Moss doesn't run his mouth a lot.
Well, I was worried Randy wasn't going to make the list.
But Randy Moss loved Brett Favre. The two of them had a healthy, fun. Right. So, it was I got to go watch 4 out there. Dante Culpepper, I have some respect for because that dude, he can make it happen. Yes, he had some talent for players. He can make it happen. And that might be the list. 4. We're gonna leave 5 just empty.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what?
Nice.
I'll give 5 to Bud Grant. Respect, R.I.P. Great football coach, Bud Grant.
Nice. All right, fair enough.
Well,
I've been doing a podcast with Fresh for 5 years and did not know his sheer hatred for the Vikings.
now
dirty
I got to
Pirate fans.
ask thoughts on Jared Allen.
Not top 5.
That's fair. I was just wondering if he was on
he's a
like the hate
competitor.
list or what.
He's on the hate list because he was a good player, but there were times where he did some stuff that was a little past the whistle.
Yeah, sounds about right. I felt that way always about Bill Romanowski. I don't know why.
Oh, that dude was on. He
He
didn't
lived
know.
on
He
the
didn't know
edge.
where. He didn't know where he was. Okay, that dude was on cloud 9, just running around like a crazy person.
Right. I don't
Do
know.
you guys remember who was the linebacker for the Texans? Gosh,
Brian Cushman from
Cushman.
Brian Cushing just played it
from USC.
Roided up, absolutely nuts. He probably had 19 layers of CTE, and I don't mean that like in a bad way. I'm like, that guy, he hits with people hard. Like, he probably was dazed a lot.
Well, him and
I will
Vontaze
forever
Burfict.
remember. Oh yeah, Burfict too. I'll forever remember Cushing headbutting a guy while not wearing a helmet. Like headbutting a guy wearing a helmet while not wearing a helmet.
Just roided out, veins popping out of his neck. Different
Next
times,
level.
man.
I always think like the whole question is if Burfict doesn't have that hit on Antonio Brown, does Antonio Brown like do the things he does? Because if you ever see interviews of like Antonio Brown talking before that hit and Antonio Brown talking after that hit, there is a clear difference.
Yeah, there's literally night and day. He passed on to different stratosphere.
Yeah, I still remember watching that game. That was crazy. I can't wait for this, guys. Like, this is some of the most fun we have. I know it's sad to see the season kind of winding down, and we've been kind of going at this since, early mid-July there, kind of with some preseason stuff, and then all of the season with college football and now into the NFL. And, we just started doing our prep work for probably our biggest episode of the year, which is the full first round mock draft. So, guys, before you head out of here, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because you're not going to want to miss this. You're not going to want to miss what we got for the Super Bowl once those two teams are decided, and a bunch of other stuff that we're going to have planned for the channel coming up going into the spring here. You don't want to miss it. Lock yourself in here. And it's almost time for pitchers and catchers to report. So if you're just like me and you don't follow baseball once, the Gardos are out of the playoffs, because apparently I completely forgot the last time that the Guardians even made the playoffs last year. So you don't follow baseball at all. Make sure you're locked in because Fresh is going to have the Power Alley podcast coming back for baseball season. If you're like me, it's how you're going to catch up on all the MLB news and try to remember, going to put some faces with some names here. This guy here on the list is dead. We'll scratch him off then. Anytime,
everybody, hit us up. SymbolSports.com, Symbol Sports YouTube channel. You can find the Power Alley podcast as well as here, the Irrational Topics podcast. Spread the word. Hit us up on the website. Especially engage with us on X and Twitter, at Spinnable Sports, at IR Confidence Pod, and at Power Alley Pod if you're looking for the Power Alley podcast as well. Tons of great contests. I can't wait for this weekend. I can't wait for the draft prep. The draft episode is always our best episode.
Yeah. And thanks to our producer, Drew, who's kind of joined us this entire time for the NFL. And he is going to be with us in that first round mock draft, as well as some other returning guests and a new guest this year, too. So I'm excited for all of what we got coming up.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff coming in the next few months. It's weird. 26 is an amazing sports year. We got the Super Bowl, Winter Olympics, got World Baseball Classic, you got hockey and basketball, NCAA tournament, March Madness coming in there, golf, you got the World Cup, and then you guys, by the time that comes through, then football's back. So there won't be the dog days of summer won't exist as much. We'll have a lot of cool events globally to get us through, which would be really, really awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to be a good year.
It will be. And we'll have to keep tuning into Fresh here because, one big concern we got is in 27 is there going to be even baseball.
That is a scary thought. And you'll hear about that most recent Power Alley podcast about money, salary cap. It should be should be a salary floor. I think there's a lot of things coming, a lot of bad news coming. So enjoy the sports you have while they're still on the field because you never know when it's going to be done. But more to come on that. We'll catch you up later. Until next time, everybody, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.